The following program, though incredibly nerdy, is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised, and you probably shouldn't watch if you're an overly sensitive pussy.
Good morning, and welcome on into another stream. Always something to talk about, you know, always something to get into out there in the nerdy world. Today is no different. And today I'd like to take a moment to defend these hot takes. These bad takes, the worst takes I've ever had. I don't know. I'll tell you this. They're damn sure some of the most controversial takes that I've had. And a lot of folks got upset about the takes. I'm talking about Andor, female Custodes. And I spent my weekend doing what most red-blooded Americans know is the absolute best way to spend a weekend, and that is arguing on social media. And so today, the stream right now is an extension of arguing about social media. But hang on, I gotta adjust something on the camera. The camera's, hang on, just give me 1 second here. Hold up. God damn it. Okay, I did it. I fixed it. I fixed it, guys. We're good. Hey, guys. Hey, guys. I fixed it. I fixed it. Yeah. All right. All right. Anyway, how was your weekend, guys? So what's going on with you guys? How did the weekend treat you? Some of the sports ball games were pretty crazy for show. I watched a little bit of that. You know what I'm kind of salty about, though? So I watched that. I was playing some Arc Raiders, okay? And I saw the Caleb Williams highlight, where that most incredible pass to tie it up at the end of the game, which, by the way, Jabber Nasty 237, welcome to the Nerd Vengers. You are a Nerd Venger. Now, appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much. So I saw that highlight, and I was like, damn, that is crazy. That was absolutely nuts. Do you know that by the time I got to look at the actual game, like by the time I pulled the game up, it was over? Like, I literally was like, oh my God, I was like, this is hype. We're about to see something crazy. It goes into overtime. I'm like, yo, I got to watch it. I go to put it on, and it's like, the program has ended, and Seattle just won. Oh, I was so mad. I was like, what the fuck? So it must have happened pretty quick then, huh? So they won the toss, and then and then he throws the pick, and then they just come down and score the The field goal? Is that what happened? I didn't even get to see it. Is it not Seattle? Who won? Rams, like I said, the Rams. Just like Star Wars? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, the other one. The pick it wasn't his fault. What? What does that mean? Each team had the ball before the pick. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Both teams had the ball in OT. I must have seen the clip late then or something, because God, it was just from my perspective, it was such a stupid thing. Yeah. Rams punted and then Chicago had the pick. Wow. Okay. The interception wasn't his fault. Would the guy run the wrong route or something like that? Josh is spitting that football knowledge for sure. Hell yeah, dog. That's what y'all come here for, huh? I know sports ball. Okay. What inning was it when they did that? My weekend was terrible. Caught my wife with my best friend, but I'm glad to be here with the boys today. Yeah, that's absolutely terrible. And frankly, you've brought the mood down a little bit there, Jabber. But also, that sucks ass, and it's better to be here with us. We're going to get you through this. Don't worry, dog. We got you, bro. I had somewhat of a terrible weekend as well, but not for that reason. Thank God. But so we were dealing with some sickness in the house last week, and it happened to be the case that we had some kind of stomach flu or virus that went through the whole house. Now, this is something that I've heard other parents and people talk about, where like a sickness just runs through the entire household, right? And it just decimates like every individual member of the family, like one after the other. And I've never actually experienced it before, and I definitely experienced it this from Thursday to Sunday, basically going into today. So my son was the first one to get it basically all Friday. And I'll tell you this too, this is actually a part of why I was so snarky and grumpy on Friday on the stream and also on social media. So my son gets sick on Friday and he's like puking the entire time. So the entire time I'm streaming, he's just like puking and being unable to hold anything down. And I was like, my God. It gets to the point where we actually have to take him into the ER. They give him some medicine. They did a bunch of tests and everything. And we finally get him into a spot where he's feeling good, right? And so we're like, okay, everybody's feeling good. And then that either that night or it was the next morning, my daughter starts throwing up. Then my wife starts throwing up. Literally, guys, the entire house, I guess other than me and the dogs, is out there just puking their brains out. And I'm sitting there watching this go down. It's like a horror movie. It's like a zombie movie, and everybody's turning. You know what I mean? And you're just like, oh my God, this is unfucking believable. So as of now, I actually haven't caught it, thank God, and I'm not sick at all. But maybe it'll happen on stream today. And I got to be honest with you, if it happens on stream today and I get sick, I might just leave the camera on and I might just puke all over the place. Because that's what female custodies and all this Andor love makes me want to do anyways, and I'll blame it on that. I'm disgusted. But also, yeah, no, I haven't actually got it yet. I haven't thrown up at all, so it's kind of crazy. I'm just waiting to see if it'll actually happen. So yeah, that's the weekend that I had. That's the weekend that I was dealing with, and I was kind of like, making sure everybody was okay in the fam and making sure people could hold fluids and food down, while also arguing with people on social media. Man, it was an incredible weekend, you know? One for the books. Palps says, hey, Josh, sorry about the sickness, brother. I saw the Lord of the Rings trailer in theaters with my buddies, and the weekend was so good. Loved your Andor take. Nerd Avengers for life, 12 Avengers for life. That's cool, man. So, yeah, you went out and saw the Lord of the Rings in the theaters, huh? It's the extended cuts? Was it the extended cut? Did you watch all of them? Was it like a 12-hour day or something like that? That'd be cool. Pulami, welcome to the Nerd Adventures, or I guess welcome back to the Nerd Adventures. Maybe you were gifted one before. Either way, thanks, man. Welcome to the Nerd Avengers. I don't understand why you need to defend your take about female custodians. GW is clearly in the wrong here. Well, you know, I think the thing with all of these kind of things, right, because, look, the female custodians thing happened on Friday, and the internet had its reaction, and it popped off, and, you know, there's just a lot of drama, a lot of culture war baiting, and there's a lot of attention on it. And, you know, we kind of thought, yeah, that was going to happen, and it happened, and we went through it. But one of the things we like to do over here, or at least I try to do with the content and the community, is approach all of these things with nuance, right? So, like, I've been doing this a long time, and I've watched a lot of these different arguments go down in other IPs or franchises, and I've also watched, you know, the field goal posts kind of shift a bit for different folks, and then these debates sort of evolve into other things, and sometimes they're super bad faith, sometimes they're reasonable. Today, when it comes to the female custodians, I actually found a good video. Actually, it was the people in the Warhammer part of our Discord. I almost don't want to talk about the Warhammer part of our Discord because it is the best fucking part of the Discord. It's like this small little island of peaceful fans that actually like shit, and we're having a good time in there, and it's not always debate, and we're not always flaming each other and arguing and whatever. And it's like, look, I get it. I love that you guys do that, and I do it, and that's all over our general Discord. Our Discord is fucking crazy. It is like the back of a comic shop with two sweaty nerds arguing 24 hours a day. It is actually kind of an incredible thing. But the Sports Vengers part of the Discord is good. Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, the Warhammer part of the Discord is absolutely incredible. And as we were talking about the female custody stuff, Callisto brought up a video that I think is maybe one of the best videos out there breaking down the entire situation. So I'm actually going to react to this guy's video, relatively small channel. Hopefully we can boost his channel. We can boost the video. And also I'll put some commentary over the top of it because he really did sort of nail the problem. And for those willing to listen, I think it's important to give the nuanced take of what the problem actually is. There's a lot of, like, you know, existing on the internet and fandom on the internet that's, you know, shit posting, arguing, you know, it's like dunking on people. It's all this, like, you know, it is what it is. But then as you sort of peel the layers back, as you get a little bit deeper, and I think one of the things that's cool about streaming and content and building a community is I can take the conversation further, right? You might see some shit I tweet, or you might see a bit of a take, or somebody says something about me in another person's video, and you have an impression of that. But if I have your curiosity, though, and you come here, or you come into a video, I can sort of take what begins as a base level curiosity, and I can fill it out, hopefully with nuance, and respect to the issue, and respect to the fans and the people that love this shit. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna defend Josh's bad takes on Andor, on female custodians. There's actually a couple of cool Marvel things out there too that I want to talk about. So word of a X-Force movie that's coming out. Maybe this is the Ryan Reynolds project, the X-Force project, which I think would be cool. We'll talk about that. And the future plan for the Mutant Saga. It's just funny to me. I don't know. I see the reports of the plans they have for the mutant stuff, and I get really happy, but I am reading between the lines a bit, reading the tea leaves. And yeah, so I want to talk about that. There's also this cool thing, and I wonder if you guys saw this. There's a video that's kind of going viral out there where people are pointing out that the statue at the beginning of the 2005 Fantastic Four movie that has Victor Von Doom, it is actually made in Robert Downey Jr.'s likeness. And a lot of people are sort of discovering that, yes, Robert Downey Jr. was actually going to be Victor Von Doom before he became Iron Man. And that's something that we know about, of course, those of you that are here a lot. But it's an interesting thing. So we'll look at that. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about what exactly happened at the time and how this does probably play into the sort of calculus of why they decided to go with Victor. I brought this up before in videos and streams, but like one of the things Kevin really likes is this sort of meta thing, right? So John Krasinski is brought in as Mr. Fantastic in Multiverse Madness, and it's kind of because it's a meme, and a lot of people just thought John would be the perfect thing, and so he's being self-referential, he's being meta-contextual to what the fans have discussed. I heard the reason he wanted to do potentially a Joaquin Phoenix Doctor Strange in that movie, or maybe even a Tom Cruise Iron Man, is because those were also things. Those were things that almost happened, that the fandom was excited about. He likes that meta-contextual stuff. So we'll get into that too. We'll get into all that stuff. Yes. Tony, was Victor all along, or was it Agatha? I don't know what it was, but I'll tell you this. I'm cold as shit in this office. It's cold in here. It's cold. And I haven't gotten a lot of sleep, so I don't know. I don't know how we'll do today. I don't know how the takes are gonna be. I don't know, but we'll see. Ant-Man 4894 with a 10 spot. Appreciate you, brother. Says, what's up, Josh? Big fan. Just want to say how much I appreciate you, but Marvel/superhero guy like you would love to see some of those movies with you and the Nerd Avengers. Much love. Oh, okay. Yeah. Like going to see some of these big movies with the Nerd Avengers. Yeah, it'd be cool, man. Appreciate you too, and thank you for that. I would like to do that as well. I've been thinking about a way that maybe we could do it for the end of the year this year for Doomsday, but we're definitely doing it for Secret Wars. Either way, I'm renting out a theater, and we're going to do a big event for Secret Wars. That was something we kind of established with the community. But maybe we could do it for Doomsday as well. I don't know, man, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Look, we're trying to have fun with this stuff. Give people updates and information, address all the cultural debates, all the comic book talk with a little bit more nuance than maybe others, and just trying to have a good time, man. And I think part of having a good time is getting really nerdy about this stuff, getting sweaty, thinking about the possibilities, talking about why we like certain things, why we don't like other things. I think that's all just a part of the fandom, so glad that you appreciate it, man. Click Clack says, I fed my need for propaganda and popcorn watching Lord of the Rings Extended Edition to the theater this weekend. Loved every second, but you're kind of right about them, though. I mean, look, I don't want to start the entire stream off on a really wild, crazy adventure here, but the fact that you brought up propaganda makes me want to show this really funny meme. So I saw this over the weekend, and I don't know. I just think sometimes memes really do allow us to just get information in a really easy, digestible way. That's actually where it comes from. I believe it's Carl Sagan, and it's the idea of like gene and meme. It's a synthesizing of information. Anyway, just look at this fucking meme. I mean, that's high art, you know? That's like the Mona Lisa a little bit. That's yeah, I mean, in some ways, the internet is probably a mistake. And it's cooked our brains. It's cooked our ability to converse. But every once in a while, a real nugget of info is disseminated through internet culture in a way that I just have to admire. Zach says, saw something about people saying Deadpool fighting Mr. Fantastic. Anything you heard about that shit? Yeah, man. I heard about that. Can I be your hotel roommate? Would you be my hotel roommate? Would you trust me? Would you be able to sleep if I was in the same room? What if, like, we were there and then you, like, turned over and you just saw me, like... Hey, Rossi, I just have crazy eyes before I go to sleep. Don't worry about it. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. West Side Delight says, I love that your Tony Stark was always Doom theory was crazy way back, but now I see it everywhere. You are the man. Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. No, I think I appreciate that, and I think, look, we looked kind of silly. I guess, I don't know. I guess it looked silly, or maybe it just... people couldn't get down. By the way, I have a big video. I did a video, obviously, this morning. Maybe I shouldn't say obviously. Maybe some of you guys saw it. Maybe you didn't. But yeah, I got super pissed about Andor again and made a 20-minute video where I like really tried hard and tried to be insightful and bring up points, and I like put effort into it, which is crazy because like I do some of my best work when I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. Anyway, I got another one of those coming out hopefully in the next few days with regards to like Tony Stark and RDJ. It's funny you bring that up. I think you'll like that video too. And it's just kind of going over some of the new revelations people have about it, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you so much. Zach, thanks for 5, brother, says, happy Monday, Nerd Avengers. Josh doesn't have bad takes. People are just sensitive. I got to watch it after work, but much love, my nerdy fam. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, some of this is just memes and internet language and baiting and whatever, right? I would say, though, that most people would probably tell, because I think a lot of folks think I'm crazy for the Andor take, frankly. And I know there's like a lot of reasonable, well-meaning people that think I'm absolutely insane, you know, for the Andor take. And so in that sense, it's probably fair to say that it's the take that most people think is my worst take. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, isn't that kind of a fair way to say it? I don't think it's my worst take. It might be my least popular take. It might be the take that people hate the most, you know? But yeah. Rossi says, trust you. I want 1 king-size bed, not 2 queens. I'll be surprised if you out-crazy me, LOL. Yeah. No, I think, look, I think the Nerd Avengers are incredibly passionate, you know, very energetic, wild, and basically I'm just trying to use nice words to describe absolute insane motherfuckers, right? That's let's just be real. Somehow, we're all here for years talking about mostly the same shit, having the same discussions, arguing with passion about all the same franchises. You know what else? Actually, it's funny. You kind of made me think of this, too. It wasn't just me, by the way, arguing about Andor over the weekend. It was like everybody. And it was really a lot of people on our Discord, too. And I think I said something this morning because I just like peeped in there and everybody's still having the same argument, the same debate and everything. And I was like, damn, you know, I thought Star Wars was dead, but we can't stop talking about it. Holy shit. And you know what? Isn't that something? You know, for all of the hate and the frustration, and for all of the this isn't Star Wars, that's not Star Wars, you know, you're wrong, I'm right, all that kind of discussion. I mean, I'm kind of impressed that Star Wars itself is still considered relevant enough, despite all the damage and all the. I mean, I'm so frustrated with Star Wars, right? And I think most of us are. But there's like this, there's this kind of truth that's being spoken that Star Wars will maybe always have that. It will always be relevant in the sense that it was Star Wars, and whatever it is now, it's still relevant because of what it once was. In all of these discussions, I mean, look, there's so many people. You know, there was some guys that even worked in Hollywood, and there's this one guy in particular that just talking about how he was like Kasdan spoke at his wedding or something like, or maybe it was John Knoll spoke at his wedding. I'm sorry, I'm not completely remembering, but point is, man, like a lot of people feel very strongly about Star Wars, and they want to speak or argue or defend or criticize Star Wars ultimately because it really matters, and a lot of people really, really care about it. And I do think that as I was arguing with everybody and, you know, whatever, I did kind of think about, I was reflecting on how, you know, there's something here. And even this debate about Andor, fuck it, let's get right into it. Let's get right into the first topic. So, you know, the thing that happened after we spoke about this on Friday, right? Because Friday we did a stream in the morning, and I talked all about Kathleen Kennedy taking over. I talked all about, you know, Dave Filoni taking over, all this sort of stuff. While that was going on, there were a lot of reporters and the different Hollywood trades were breaking this down as well. And I think, obviously, it's a super big deal. It kind of becomes official on Thursday. And then, so therefore, of course, there's a lot of breaking down and explaining and reporting on Friday. And one of the things that happened within that reporting day was The Wrap had this article that came out to say that Dave Filoni didn't like Andor. Like, legit. Like, here, I wonder if I can pull up the actual... Yeah, here we go. Check this out. This is wild. So, right here, this is from the article. It says, and Kennedy did give Gilroy the go-ahead for Andor, a series that charts the title character in the run-up to the events of Rogue One that saw star Diego Luna return. The series, a stark spy thriller about how tyranny takes root, is unquestionably the greatest creative triumph of the Kennedy era. It was also, according to an individual who worked inside Lucasfilm, a series that Filoni disliked. A Lucasfilm spokesperson denied this as inaccurate. So that was actually added later, which is another really interesting element of the story. They didn't have this in the article originally. They just reported that this was a series that Filoni didn't like. And if you really look at the couching here or the context, even the subtext of what is being said here, they're saying Kennedy, Andor good. By the way, the guy taking over for Kennedy, he don't like Andor. That's it. That's basically what the report is. That's what they were trying to say. If so facto, ergo vis-a-vis. That's what they're saying. So weird, right? But why are they saying this? And by the way, this did pop off. This popped off to the point that people were going crazy. I was out there, getting into the shit with it, and a lot of others were as well. And ultimately, it got to the point that Lucasfilm issues this denial. Okay, so this denial comes in. They walk it back a little bit, but even still, the story's out there, and a lot of people have debated it. I think ultimately the reason this popped off, right? The reason this is a debate. Oh, you guys can't even see this quote. Oh, jeez. Here we go. Oh, jeez. The reason this popped off, guys, is because right now, with Filoni taking over, what he will do with the future of Star Wars is a big question. I think that what the rap was trying to insinuate was that Kennedy had made this Andor thing. It's the crown jewel of her accomplishments, and it's the win that she wants to go out on. Oh, and by the way, the guy taking over doesn't like Andor, and so you're probably not going to get Andor. It's trying to sort of say that the future of Star Wars is in question and likely won't be in the direction of Andor because of Dave Filoni. That is implied. That is what is trying to be communicated, right? And I think that is the reason that resonated with so many folks is because there are a lot of people that really like Andor, that are super concerned that the Ahsoka guy, the guy that they consider to be like the slop guy that's just going to make, cameo lightsaber content, is now in control, and we will never get something like Andor, again. It's interesting, man. And you know what else was interesting was watching everybody's takes, going back to all the shit that Dave said, literally about Andor in different interviews and whatnot, right? So I saw people literally pull out transcripts or put up clips of interviews and whatnot. And you had some folks saying, look at the language Dave is saying here. He's being so vague about Andor that it's obvious he doesn't really like it. And he's just using corporate speak to say the right thing. I saw people with that take. I saw people on the other side of it say, look what he's saying. He loved Andor. Obviously, he's so emotionally affected by Andor. He loves Andor. This report was wrong, right? And it's like, look, man, that's just a bunch of people saying and reading into it in the way that they want to read into it, okay? And ultimately, I think, I genuinely think that there's truth to Dave not liking Andor. And I guess let's just start there. Let's just ask you guys what you make of that. Do you agree or do you disagree that it is probably the case that he doesn't like Andor? What do you think? What does thee make of all of that? Josh is compromised. Wait, what? Even Robert Meyer Bennett and Campia are saying he wasn't feeling Andor. That's an unspoken thing. Yeah. So I would say it's not just that. It's also what Harloff said. It's also what Joanna Robinson said. There's a lot of context. And again, I just don't think, look, the rap is whatever. And I'm sure that there's some things they've done that are whack, and all the trades do a little bit of clickbait these days because that's just the environment that we live in, right? I totally get that. But I truly don't feel like the rap would just report something that was complete and utter bullshit in this way the day after the guy gets the job, right? I feel like that is a level of... That's a lack of journalistic integrity that I think even the trades wouldn't be able to stomach. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot to suggest that that is true, okay? I mean, dude, I would take it as far, and this is speculation, right? And I'm sort of drawing a conclusion. But do you all remember the video at Star Wars Celebration Tokyo, where Dave Filoni literally is basically crying or coming to tears, talking about how important it is to him to honor George Lucas' Star Wars? I don't know if you all remember that or not. It was a thing. It happened on stage at Celebration in Japan. And to me, you know, what was kind of interesting about that was that at the time, the sort of controversy about Grape, right? The essay plotline with Bix in season 2 of Andor was sort of popping off. A lot of people had opinions about that. It sort of leaked that happened. I, of course, had my strong opinions about it. Other people had their strong opinions about it. Yeah, so that was kind of happening at the time. And then there's that whole thing with David celebrating. I don't know. I just sort of read into that I truly think, and I am speculating. I feel like I'm probably saying that a little too much, but I'm not trying to tell you that like I've heard this is what it is, but just speculating. I kind of took that to mean that Dave was upset. I took that to mean that Dave did feel as though things that Andor was doing, maybe specifically the Grape plotline, was beyond the pale for what Star Wars should be, and that George would never have let that happen. There's also a lot of contextual reporting that sort of supports the idea that Kathleen Kennedy had protected Andor from Dave Filoni's purview. That's mostly coming from Joanna Robinson, right? Like we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. And so look, this happened, and it is wild. And even though Lucasfilm kind of walks it back, I think there's enough truth, or at least enough perceived truth in this, that you know, the debate that fans are having right now, the arguments that the fandom is having, is warranted. It's appropriate. I think it's fair. What does it ultimately mean for what Dave will do with Star Wars? There's no way to know right now. Like, and I think anybody that is saying they know what that is doesn't really know. And we're just gonna have to wait, man. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But going back to the Andor thing, the other side of this Andor thing that a lot of people just can't get down with, because, you know, I look at Andor's numbers, right? And I look like autistically deep at these numbers, right? Because I'm neurodivergent. I'm a fucking crazy ass nerd. That's like a part of what I do, right? So I looked at this shit from like a very deep perspective, not just in season 1, but in season 2. And Andor has a serious lack of viewership. There's basically just no way around it. It has a serious lack of viewership as for what you would think. And even season 2, which did have much better viewership and actually does chart at a couple of moments towards the end of its season, when you really look at the data, like 70% of the viewership that was tracked while Andor season 2 was coming out came from Andor season 1. That's like actually backed up. You can look at the Luminate data. They did a really good breakdown of this. It kind of flew under the radar because at the time Andor was actually charting. And it's interesting because like as you chart, like that was pushed as a very positive thing, and it did sort of take over narratively. But as that was going down, there were people breaking down the data to like a really nerdy level and just saying, you know, this really isn't good. This isn't getting the viewership that you would attribute to this big elite success, this smash hit that everybody tries to say that Andor is. And that and what I'm trying to suggest with this terrible take that I have is that there's a reason for that. And that despite a whole bunch of people liking Andor and discussing Andor and making it appear as this big, influential, popular thing online, there's not data supporting that a huge amount of Star Wars fans fuck with it like that. That's basically what I'm saying, okay? And what I would suggest is that it's not, that's not just some random phenomenon that happened. That there's actually a reason why. And the main reason why is that Andor does not feel like Star Wars. And this is an intuitive thing. And look, we've said this for years. We've talked about this for years. Ultimately, it's just easy for folks to turn on Andor, and if they have an expectation for what Star Wars is, which I would argue the vast majority of people that go to check Andor out have an expectation for what Star Wars is, for most people, it didn't meet that expectation. It felt different in their bones, and they checked out. That's basically what you see in the data. That's basically what you see in the data. And then the word of mouth doesn't actually overcome that problem. Like, the viewership of Andor Season 1 was so bad, and it does track up over time. Luminate also points this out, so there's nuance here, right? I'm not saying it was a complete failure. But what I'm saying is the data points to things that I think have a very real explanation that are a reason as to why Andor didn't actually succeed. And man, they spent money. They spent the kind of money on this thing that means they did want it to succeed. And if you look at the articles that came out in the past couple of days, even this one that we're talking about with the rap, the very like match that started the fire with the rap on Friday, right? What are they trying to say? What are they actually communicating in this article? They're saying that Andor's the best thing Star Wars ever did, and that's what we should remember Kathleen Kennedy for. And also, Dave's not going to do any more of that, so fuck him. That is basically what is being communicated there. So again, I don't think that's by accident. I think that Kathy did Andor to try to get this kind of a win. You know, there's something I pointed out in the video that I made this morning. I feel as though Kathleen Kennedy and the leaders of Lucasfilm were unable to properly create Star Wars content that was in a line with what George would have done, and a part of why was like it was a cheap copy. They were just copying it without a lot of the same essence that was there for Star Wars overall, and so a lot of the Star Wars content under Disney feels like this sort of parody of George. It's just not quite right. It's failing to be what it is, and there's something that sticks out about that, and it's a turnoff, right? But what I think happened with Andor was like Kathy basically realized I can't actually figure this out. I can't actually push Star Wars forward. I can't do what George did. I'm unable to distill down whatever it is he was able to distill down, that despite everything that happened, Star Wars had motion and it did crazy box office, and it was this big cultural thing, even during the prequels. And so because I can't do what I should be able to do, I'm going to actually just lean on the thing that I know I'm good at. And what that is she's a producer. Okay, so again, this is her as president leaning on her ability as a producer, and I understand it, but that's not what you do as the sort of brand ambassador of Star Wars. As the person that controls what Star Wars is, that's a bad move. What she did was say, I'm going to go find a guy that I think does incredible work. And as a producer, I understand that. I live in that world. I understand the sensibilities. I understand the production company. I understand the sort of influences that this person has. I understand their instinct. I look at their body of work and I see this is a competent person that can make well-crafted, like elevated genre content. And she leans on her producer side, and she gets Tony Gilroy and all of those people and his writing partner, and she spends almost $1 billion, dude, $700 million, and gives these people years and years and years outside of the purview of Dave to just produce. And that is what you do when producing. I mean, she did the right thing in the sense that, yes, this is what she had been successful for with her whole entire career, and it's what made Andor's success. And all of that is fine, and all of that is good, and in some ways it is good for Star Wars, because I guess it's better that Andor exists than we just have nothing but goobly glob, right? I can even admit that. But at this moment, when Dave is taking over, when these articles are coming out, when the whole thing with Kathy is being explained retroactively just to make her look incredible, I feel a responsibility to kind of be like, no, like that's actually not what's happening. That's not what happened there, and this actually isn't good. It's an easy way to get a win. She did what she knew, and that's fine. But Star Wars is bigger than that. Star Wars is bigger than just making competent shit that has Star Wars on its like logo, and it technically has blasters, and there's a Senate and things of that nature, right? That's not what Star Wars is. Now, going back to that whole meaning and that feeling of Star Wars, right? I've been trying for years to explain this, and I think I've fallen short basically for years. And I was thinking a lot about this over the weekend, because obviously I was fighting with everybody and, trying to figure it out. And I think I came up with an explanation that maybe it's not the perfect explanation, but it's way better than any explanation I've ever done. And it's the one I put in the video. It's the science of why Andor does not feel like Star Wars, and it has to do with grammar. Okay, now some of you maybe watched the video. I'd recommend watching the video. I think it's good. I think it's a good video. But the point I made in the video is that there's like rules that govern how we speak that a lot of native speakers don't even fully understand. Like, they don't understand the mechanics of why certain things are said, why certain things are not said, why the order of certain sentences is the way that it is. But as a native speaker, this is kind of just given to you at an intuitive level. And then for your entire life, you have what I would describe as like a phenomenological, experiential knowledge or a gnosis of what that is. You know in your bones when somebody speaks English that's not a native speaker and they make a small error of syntax and it just sticks out like a sore thumb. You know, one of the examples I gave in the video was this idea that like you don't call something the brown old chair, you call it the old brown chair. And there's actually a rule that governs the ways adjectives are ordered by the function or the description that they give. But you don't know that. Like, maybe some of you know that because whatever, you went to you studied English or something. But most native speakers don't even know that. They couldn't explain to you why the one sentence is correct and the other isn't, but they can pick it out. They can feel it. When you say it incorrectly, we can just sort of feel it. It's this agreed upon understanding at an intuitive level of what is the correct grammar, or probably conversely, what is the incorrect grammar and what that means. What is communicated by that? To me, Star Wars is such a unique IP. It's such a unique franchise. I think that's part of why it ultimately is as popular as it is. Really appreciate that. That's a crazy super chat. I'll get into that in just a second. Let me finish my yapping here, okay? Appreciate that, though. I think... oh, God. I was on a roll. You made me lose it, but here's I'll try to get it back. Star Wars specifically has a story grammar. It has rules much in the same way that the English language has grammatical rules that you sort of know at an intuitive level. And I think that a part of why Star Wars was so successful was how it put that grammatical structure together to tell these fairy tales, man. And these fairy tales and the function of telling those fairy tales makes Star Wars incredibly unique because, and I frankly think it speaks to why even now, as Star Wars is dead, that people still want to discuss and debate it with, vigor to what it is, what does it mean, what should it be allowed to do. I think it's because it resonated with people on more than just a story level. In the same way that myth does and should resonate with people on a very deep level, right? And because that is inherent to what made Star Wars, I think you're ultimately always going to get these debates, and really what you're going to get is a lot of people rejecting the thing that doesn't feel like Star Wars, right? And I think there is actually a way to understand it. I think the language grammar thing is a good way to understand that. Now, the other side of that, right, to sort of steel man other folks, and there was a writer in Hollywood that was expressing to me that he just thinks I'm wrong, and that essentially I think that the idea is that Star Wars can grow, and I think a lot of folks equate more mature content with Star Wars itself maturing. And in a sense, like, maybe that's correct. And as your tastes mature, maybe you as an individual desire Star Wars to do its same thing through like a different language because you actually appreciate these new other things. But what I'm trying to explain is that while that is maybe a subjective truth, I think objectively that is a mistake for a brand to do, because especially when the value of the thing is so inherent to how specific it is, Star Wars is like, it's really not like anything else. And when you take Star Wars and treat it as just a sort of sandbox or a playground for you to tell any kind of tonal story, with any kind of content, and I know that's not exactly what Andor is doing, but like just follow the thinking here, right? Then you are losing the essence, right? It's you could call it brand dilution, but at the very least, you are abandoning the thing. You're abandoning the principles of the factors of the grammar that created that inherent feeling that gave it the value to be acquired for billions of dollars, right? And so maybe Star Wars can experiment. Maybe Star Wars can try new things. You know, some people brought up, and I think this is actually a fair thing to bring up. Some people brought up that 1313 show that George was supposedly doing, and a lot of folks were like, yo, George himself was actually about to do a little bit more of a mature, hard-edged thing, right? But the problem with that is it's so hypothetical. Unless we were able to see what George was exactly doing and be able to compare it to what Andor did, we can't actually draw the conclusion. Like, you can't actually say, oh, George was going to make a bounty hunter show that was more mature. Oh, so Andor was a perfect way to do Star Wars, and George would not have stopped any of it. No, I don't think those things equate. In fact, I'm pretty sure George, at the very least, would have kept, you know, the sexual assault stuff out of Andor. I think George would have said maybe the Emperor needs to be seen. You know, there's other things I think George would have felt were very important. And I also think he would have had a different tone. And I also think he would have used bombastic dialogue and operatic pacing and all of these things that I recognize as the story grammar for Star Wars overall. So, yeah, that's basically where I'm at with it. And I also think, too, because, look, this is an unpopular take. And I don't think it's actually an unpopular take with a lot of Star Wars fans. That's kind of what I'm trying to say, is I think there's a whole bunch of Star Wars fans that just reject Andor at an intuitive feeling level, and they're not going to go explain it. They're just going to check out and not watch it. And I think that is what happened. There's a lot of people that like it and think it's great, and they're coastal, influential, elitist motherfuckers. So they're going to yap on their social media and use their platforms to make it look like that's the consensus. And I really don't think it's the consensus. And I think that in a moment like this, it is actually okay for me to make the point, have the terrible take, back it up as best I can, and let the chips fall where they may. You don't have to agree with it, but this idea that there's no principled reason that folks feel the way I feel, that's not fair. I would also say that if what we think is true about how Dave views the show is true, which I guess you have to decide for yourself, your mileage may vary. I believe, yes, he would not have allowed Andor to exist the way that it does, and I think that's good. I guess you just have to decide what that means for Star Wars overall. And if you don't like that, Dave, you know, by all means, use your voice. You know, you make your case, and we let the chips fall where they may. I do think, though, that there is an element of, you know, this expression that you have to sort of, like, the conductor must turn his back on the audience to fully conduct the music. You certainly don't want to subvert expectations. I think you want to deliver what fans want. But I think truly great art, and I think what Star Wars really was art that delivered things that you didn't even know you wanted, and yet they align with what you want in a way you didn't see coming. It's like putting a new twist on an old lemon. Star Wars, in a lot of ways, is just fundamental fairy tales. But the way it was delivered, and the twists and turns, and the just interesting things that George wanted to focus on, the little points he was trying to make, right? That's what gives it flavor. And frankly, there's an element of like, so look, let me say, I know I'm fucking yapping. I know I'm yapping till the cows come home, but let me try to make just this last point here, okay? Not everybody likes everything George did in Star Wars. Okay, I don't know if you know that, but there was a day, and it's funny, there were people bringing this up on our Discord earlier as well. There was a day where there was a documentary called The People vs. George Lucas, and there were people so toxic and so butthurt about the prequels that they were literally creating like folky songs where it's like George Lucas graped my childhood. I don't know if you're familiar with that and you've seen it, but that's real, dog. And they did that, okay? So a lot of people really didn't like what George was doing. But the one thing the sequel trilogy gave us was an appreciation for flawed art as compared to micromanaged product. Ultimately, a lot of the flaws that not just the sequel trilogy, but all of Star Wars had was this sort of weird, censoring and like trying to craft a product that everybody would like, right? And when you do that, you're just, first of all, you're not going to do that. You're not going to please everybody, but you're also going to create this really watered down thing that I think lacks essence. Okay. And they did that. And Disney and Kathy and everybody, they did that. They did that a lot. And I think in some ways, a lot of folks, like the reason a lot of folks look more fondly at the prequels now is that we realize that although they have their flaws, they were flawed art. They were a vision that an artist had, and it was pure in some ways. It wasn't a commercial product as much as it was a true artistic expression from that guy. And man, I just... like, what I'm saying is I think that you need to find the spark that maybe Gilroy did with his ideas and passion and what Star Wars could be, but it must actually speak the language of Star Wars. It has to feel like Star Wars, and there's a way to create something like Andor that is given boundaries, that is pulled back, that is edited and changed in a way that allows it to be more in a line with what Star Wars is. Okay, that's enough yapping on that shit. But anyway, what do you guys think about that? I'm sure there's people that are angry. I'm sure there's some complaints. Some, people got some shit to say. So let's look at the chat for a little bit here. Let's go back up to this here. Okay, so Zinni says, you were the chosen one. It was said you were to destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance back to the Force. Don't leave it in darkness. I hate you. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. Andor could never deliver a moment like that. Yeah. I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, I legitimately tend to agree, and I I've tried to make this point in many different ways, but Star Wars is over the top. Star Wars is opera, man. Star Wars is like, it's not some dude stalking a chick and eating cereal with his mom for 28 episodes or whatever, right? Like that's not what it is. It is to a point. It's pulpy. I mean, it's supposed to represent Buck Rogers Saturday morning cartoons. There's supposed to be a pulse to this shit, So I don't know. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And thanks for the support, man. Endgame created Cap going back in time, causing all chaos. Also, the saviors was Iron Man before his death in Endgame. So which was first, chicken or the egg? That's a great question. And, man, can you send me a DM about that? Because that might be worth doing a whole video on, because that's kind of an interesting question. First is interesting. Yeah. First is interesting. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Let's hear. Zinni follows up and says, by growing up, Star Wars actually stops being Star Wars. I don't expect things to change under Dave, but I am glad she's finally gone. Yeah, and I think that's an angle that a lot of people hit me on with this too. It's like, don't you want to mature? Don't you want Star Wars to mature? Don't you want Star Wars fans to mature? And like, I think it's a false equivalency. Like, to me, the idea that you can't get nuance and subtext and a lot of deep meaning from something that is simple is it like, what are proverbs? Like, you think about, like, it feels like people just want to kind of take for granted these simple wisdoms or these lessons or these moral equivalencies or whatnot, right? And I think people will sometimes look at that, especially delivered through fantasy, and just say that it's immature and that by not making it more real world applicable or not taking it to like a postmodern level, you're not challenging the audience enough. And I think, look, there's truth in that in a sense, in that like deconstruction is inherently challenging to the audience. But I think there's that whole conversation lacks a care and an appreciation for what mythology is. I mean, we've been talking about certain mythological stories for thousands of years, and we've been dissecting what these very simple stories mean. I mean, we're about to watch, Christopher Nolan's Odyssey thing, and this shit is thousands and thousands of years old. It's a mythology. It's a fiction from thousands and thousands of years old, and yet, we're looking at that in a different way. And I don't think you need to go in the direction of like postmodernism and deconstruction to acquire depth, to acquire something beyond just the spoken word. And so, for me, I kind of reject this idea that just because something is sophisticated or complicated, it inherently has more depth, and that you as an adult or a child will get more from that than you will a simple parable. I completely reject that, But yeah, it's what's out there. It's what's out there, for sure. Chris says, with a 10 spot, it's a problem when they felt like it would be out of place to have a Star Wars character like the Emperor in a Star Wars show. That was weird to me, and I feel like illustrates what's wrong with Andor. Yeah, no, I mean, in a sense, what Chris is saying is, like, if you create a Star Wars show with such a tone that introducing Emperor fucking Palpatine breaks the tone, then you fucked up. Not when you wanted to bring Palpatine in, but when you went about setting up your fucking Star Wars show, right? Like, that's kind of what he's saying. And I think there is some truth in that, yeah, for sure. Watch Those Wrist Rockets says, Andor killed my love for Star Wars. I will never forgive that show. Damn! And you know what's crazy is, like, there's a lot of people would look at that comment by him and just be like, oh, it's toxic or he's crazy. But, like, the brother is telling you what it is to him. And I wonder if other people even appreciate this. I feel like some people are like, no, and anyone who doesn't get Andor is dumb, they're regressed, and fuck them. Star Wars should be this. I mean, I just don't agree, and I think it's okay to point out the counter argument. Talon Infernus says, Josh, who wins? Grandmaster Choda, 2 years HCT training, 8 months Josh mentorship versus the strongest Andor fan. True power plus enraged by Josh's Andor takes. Wow, that's a great question. So 2 years, 8 months membership, true power just enraged. So the way I would say this, and I don't know, I'm trying to be fair here because both are, good things and they're also about me, so it's hard to pick which one I like more. But I would say that the guy that did the 8 months of membership, I try not to talk too much about this, but when you become a Nerdvenger member, I don't know exactly what the science is here, the mystery of the universe or how this happens, but, like, things happen, man. It's crazy. It's like unlocking some kind of superpower. So the person that became a paying member for the Nerdvengers for 8+ months will obviously have an advantage over someone who didn't. Thank you for the super chat. What else are we saying in chat? What else are you motherfuckers saying? Y'all got some shit to say? Now's the time. Mo from the Foe, appreciate you, brother, says, had similar convo last week with a guy that loved Acolyte. My question is, what would we have learned from that show? Moral takeaway, especially for kids. That is absolutely a part of what holds Acolyte back for sure. Yeah, I just don't think it's, like, I think Acolyte is actually doing some interesting things, especially in the beginning of the show, but it lacks an understanding of how to take its central characters to these sort of heroic beats, these heroic places, and I think it's just it's because it's trying to get too cute. It's trying to be too sophisticated. It's trying to turn ideas on their head, and it's like, that's not really what Star Wars is, That's not really how we got that juice, in my opinion. Appreciate you, man. Eric Myers says, I get what you mean. Andor is a hollow version. It doesn't have the mysticism. It's not a space western. Much love. Yeah, thanks, man. I think that's a great way to say it, and I think that it is what it is. I'm just trying to speak to not just my feelings, but I think what a lot of people feel about the show. And I guess we'll just see. Is there room for something Andor-esque that's a little bit more in line with the mysticism? I think that's what Rogue One is. And I think Rogue One is great. So, yeah, I think there's a way to do it. Nate says, Star Wars is the Force. Jedi are the stars. Lightsaber usage is integral to the story's performance. The lore, the skill, mostly the respect. Yeah, I mean, imagine being a Star Wars show and not taking advantage of lightsabers. Like, every fucking movie, every fantasy thing, every science fiction thing ever has wanted a lightsaber. And in fact, there's been a lot of lightsabers in different fiction, right? There's even a movie, I forget which movie it is, but, like, isn't it like Chris Tucker or Chris Rock literally says, George Lucas is going to sue somebody? I think it's like Jay and Silent Bob or whatever, right? Dude, everybody wants a lightsaber. Is the coolest fucking thing in the world. Imagine making a Star Wars show and not wanting to put one of the coolest fucking things in pop culture into the show. It just baffles the mind. It baffles the mind. Warhammer Sith 66, that's not bad. That's a good, I appreciate you trying to change your name, but it's still a little too Star Warsy for me. Andor first 18 episodes, no bueno. The last 6 episodes was amazing television for sure. Not amazing Star Wars television. I'm good on Andor and Tony Gilroy. Hell yeah. Well, don't worry, bud. I think you'll really appreciate all the Warhammer you're about to get into, so that's great. Libes Diarius, what? Says, you might have already talked about this, but wondering if Thor is asking for the Odin Force against the X-Men, not Doom in the trailer. That would be kind of wild. Yo. I don't know about that shit, brother. That would be pretty cool, man. If he's asking for the Odin Force against the X-Men, that would be pretty cool, bro. Yeah, so what if Doom tells him to pray for it? That would be kind of interesting. Yeah, there's a lot that could be a lot of you know, there's some you're cooking with some stuff. I appreciate it. Justin says with a 10 spot, I love Warhammer now. You finally convinced me. Please send me an Eldar army that you promised. We'll work on that. And then you said, my brother, way too charitable, LOL. If you fell in love with Star Wars because some random guy in the background, then yes, it is Star Wars. Lightsaber of the Force Sith Jedi is Star Wars, not the bitch in the back. F. Andor. You know, well put, sir. Here, here. And I'm glad you're getting into Warhammer as well. Don't worry, we're going to complain about Warhammer in just a minute. Howlrolf says, brother, did you switch your name again? Says, how would I DM you? Yeah, chicken and egg is a cool take. They're both on a Mobius strip in the opposite sides, but then again, on the same side. Doom Tony. The best place to DM me is Twitter, brother. If you're on Twitter, at Josh Den of Nerds, send me a DM there, or maybe on Discord as well. Also, did you change your name, dude? I feel like you had another name I couldn't pronounce, and now you've changed your name to something else I can't pronounce. Joe says, some say you get God Emperor Doom levels power when you become a Nerdvenger. Join now, and you can at least be a Doom bot. Yeah, totally. There you go. There you go. That's a good way to say it. Yeah. Selling that. Warhammer reminds me of KK. What? Also, how is this segment 37 minutes? You guys gotta stop me. This is crazy. I gotta edit that shit? Dog. I'm not trying to do all that. Holy shit. Okay, anyway. Chris Rocker, Chris Tucker. It was one of those Chris's, bro. They both have similar inflections when they deliver over-the-top, high-pitched, funny things. Yeah. Become a Primarch as a Nerdvenger. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'll never understand. It's like getting slapped in the face and then asking to do it harder, but 20 years later. Wait, what? There are a million Andor-type stories, but only one Lucas Star Wars. Andor may be mature storytelling, but it lacks the soul of Star Wars. I think that's a good way to say it, yeah. I feel like that's a good way to say it. Okay. Rossi, I missed your $5 super chat about MegaCon. Brother, I'm not going to MegaCon. Can't you see I'm busy? Where is this at here? Where's this at here? We booked our MegaCon hotel, Atosuke, Darboyd, Cool Bear in one room, Ben and I in another. Noah, Chris, Listenfeld, and Andreas will be at MegaCon. Damn, a lot of Nerdventures. Y'all send a video in, and we'll go over on stream, and we'll show everybody the fun that you're having. So thank you. Appreciate the support, and hell yeah. All right, everybody. Can we shift into another incredible science fiction franchise that is fucking destroying itself? I'm talking about Warhammers. Buckle up your buttholes, chat. So, I love Warhammer. And I've been trying to convince everybody that it's the next big thing, and it's the best thing, and it's my favorite thing, and everyone should like it. However, just as many other franchises have dealt with, Warhammer finds itself in a bit of a controversy. And this has to do with female custodies. Okay, so let me kind of TLDR this, frame this for those of you that have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. And then we're actually going to watch a video here, okay? We're going to watch an incredible video done by Heresy is My Therapy. What a great name, too, for a channel, okay? So, Warhammer, it's been around basically since 1987. Really, it was second edition after Rogue Trader when it really gets its form as like, science fiction and all that sort of stuff. And there's this big info drop / prologue that Warhammer has in its early editions, talking about how the Emperor's on the Golden Throne, been there for 10,000 years, everything's in disarray, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Well, one of the elements of Warhammer are the guardians of the Emperor, known as the Custodes. These are big sentinel-type beings. They're like Praetorian guards. They're all in gold. They're like 9 feet tall. They're symbolic, as they're meant to show just the glory of what the Emperor is capable of, because they're all Ferrari-level, gene-crafted super soldiers. And what I mean is, like, this isn't some standard operation. Each one is treated individually and made with care and created by the Emperor of Mankind himself, okay? And some of the Emperor's essence is somehow also in every custodian. Now, for basically the entire history of Warhammer, Custodes have been male. And in fact, all the lore in every codex, in every article, in every novel, in every short story had every custodian character as male. And every single time it was referenced how they recruited people and created Custodes, it was always male. It was actually the sons of nobles, male nobles, okay? So, within the last couple of years, all of a sudden the idea that there were female Custodes was introduced. And I mean quite literally, it was just introduced within the last couple of years. And GW, Games Workshop, the company that owns Warhammer, they did, I think, a really bad job of handling this. Because for a lot of Warhammer fans, it's not actually the fact that you introduce female Custodes. Female Custodes could make sense within the lore. It is a science fiction fake world. You could make it make sense. The thing that most Warhammer fans are frustrated about with female Custodes is that Games Workshop was very lazy with how they introduced this, and then they tried to gaslight their own fans into thinking it was always a thing. Now, I'm about to put on this video here, and I'll put the link to this in the chat, because this video is awesome, dude. And this is a video where this dude is breaking this whole thing down. And so we're going to watch this video together, and I'll give some commentary over the top of it, and I will explain why I think this is so good, why this is such a nuanced take, and I will put the link to that in the chat. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. If you're a Warhammer fan, or if you just appreciate nuanced takes on the internet, go check that out. Give that dude some love, because he's good. Okay, here we go.
What's going on, you bunch of heretics? You know, I hate being right. I hate it. I hate being right. I hate being right so much that I've got a book that says, "Times I was right and nobody listened." And today it's going to be going in the entry. It really is. So the other week we made a prediction video, and what did we say? There was going to be a female Custodes drop, and of course it was going to be in a box so good that you will be gaslit into buying it. And what happened? Yes, indeed. The preview show, which we're going to do a separate video on. But look, before we get into it, let's be real here. Those models, the refresh for Heresy and 40k Custodes, is absolutely stunning. The fact that we're getting so much stuff in plastic, the tanks, the Dreadnought, and of course, I actually have to disagree with him just a little bit here. I actually don't think these models look good. A lot of them look good, but the female ones in particular look hideous. They're super weird, androgynous, and just, I think, actually terrible. Not to mention, like, some of this other stuff. Like, I like the current range. I think it needed a scaling update, but I like the bulkiness of the current range of the Custodes. And there's this idea, he's going to talk about this in a second, that the new design of these models makes it a little bit more believable that they are blisteringly fast, because they can move at a speed that they look like a golden blur. And I'm like, no, I think you make them look like Giga Chad, super bulky things, and then they just happen to move at that kind of speed like a fucking anime. But anyway, maybe I'm just being a butthole. Those wonderful, almost like jump pack, if you will, Custodes.
Those look good. Yeah. Some of them look good, yeah.
But they are all honestly fantastic. That Battle Force set that you are getting is somewhere in the region of well over 1,000 points, because you are in essence getting 10 Custodian Guard, 3 Shield Captains, a Dreadnought, and a tank. It's well, I mean, the 10 Custodian Guard in 2 bricks of 5 is just shy of 200 points apiece. Each shield captain is there or thereabouts 120, and of course you're going to give them a few enhancements, so we're well over the 700 point mark. And then of course a combination of the dreadnought, which is 165, and the grav tank, I believe, is about at the 200 points. So again, we have 1,000 points, good to go. One of those with a combat patrol. Boy howdy, that's you done. Again, making Custodes the cheapest and most value for money army in 40k, and probably Horus Heresy as well. I cannot emphasize how over the moon and how happy I am for these models. They look incredible. Do they look a bit more sleek in their design? Yes, they look like, and I will say this, I really love the custodian models. I actually really have been enjoying the charity models that I've been doing for Rally Point Games and Minds. But when the lore, and we'll talk about the lore in a minute, is written that they are like lightning fast, Primarch level speed, and move the way they shouldn't move. When you see like how chunky these guys are, you kind of like, how would they move that? These new ones with their more dynamic posed look like they would be.
Jay, I deleted that comment before you even read it, so how dare you come in here? Nobody even knows the fucking context. Now they just know I called you fat. Hope you're doing well, buddy.
Blisteringly powerful and look very much how you would expect them to look on the battlefield. A lot more regal, like almost like that old John Blanche, I think it was, sort of grimdark look of where they had, like they were more plumed and more elegant. The Custodes look.
Yeah, look, I get what he's saying here, and in some ways, sure. I mean, they're updated, right? And they look a little bit better. So I actually don't like the leg stuff. I don't like the... Yeah, I actually don't agree with this, but that's fine. The real point is coming up.
The models have that effect, and
they look good, though.
I mean, they look stunning. We can't answer that. But what we do need to do is talk about the elephant in the room and the title and probably why you've clicked on it.
Thanks for the $20, Jay. I'm going to order a pizza, too.
Now look,
because now I'm rich.
I've said this before, and I will say it again.
This is good. This is what he says here is good, though.
I would not care less that there are female custodians.
Okay, now I actually want to stop here. This is. Please lean the fuck in on this one, okay? And Jay, by the way, this actually has a little bit to do with you too, bud. So what he's about to say here is that he does not care inherently if there are female custodians. And what I would tell you is, he's basically saying, like, some of the same shit I would say when, like, Last Jedi was coming out, okay? Like, look, Last Jedi has a lot of, like, whatever you'd call, like, wokeness or, the purple hair ladies scolding Oscar Isaac and all that sort of stuff. And literally at the time, I was of the mind that although I noticed that, it didn't bother me in the same way that it bothered somebody like Jay, right? And I think that's fair. But what's interesting is where this guy's at right now is I think where a lot of people are at with this culture war shit, which is like, he doesn't even care that much, and yet he's able to acknowledge how poorly this is being handled and what that is, like the damage that is doing to the overall fandom, right? But I just wanted to stop here and say, like, look, the reason I think this is a reason that a lot of you guys on the Warhammer part of the Discord, brought this video up and liked this video, is because unlike me, I care these days, and I'm kind of being a dick about it a lot. This guy doesn't care, but he's still able to articulate it. What I agree is the main problem.
I really couldn't. Providing that we just keep Space Marines male, Sister About a female. If you want to have the female custodians in there, so what? What I cannot stand is lazy lore writing and the level of gaslighting from Games Workshop. They made this throwaway comment that there's always been female custodians, and then decided to put female custodians in the Horus Heresy, and then go, oh look, for 10,000 years they've always been there. What really vexes me, and unfortunately, this video is obviously, going to go out to a bit of an echo chamber, who again, I imagine most of us watching this don't care about female custodians. Do whatever you want to do. Yeah. Remember, Games Workshop want that representation for everyone. Right. Fantastic. I completely agree with you.
I don't, but it's fine. But
GW, you haven't really spent the time for representation, because if you did, what you would do is you would make some incredible lore, appropriate lore for Custodes players. If you really want that female representation that you so desperately want to make sure that you have, you would have taken the time to write some really really good lore. This was once again another fantastic opportunity for Games Workshop to say, and as I didn't mention before, to elevate perhaps one of the Sisters of Battle, perhaps elevate one of the sisters, keep in the Horus Heresy to have it all male, but because of the damage that was done from Chaos, the damage that was done from Horus, obviously the depletion of the Sons of Terror, you know, you're going to have to recruit from more places, okay?
Now, listen, I want to stop there. I just want to put a sort of exclamation point on what he's saying here. So what he is saying is, like, he doesn't mind it in concept, and it was an opportunity to create lore that made sense. And what he means when he says make sense is that, again, this thing has been around for 40 years and it's never been in there. So you're not going to be able to just tell people it was in there. We just didn't talk about it. Like, that's the gaslighting. So instead, let's just consider that they want representation. They want female Custodes, which, like, part of me was thinking maybe it's because Custodes is the most accessible army. Like, it's one of the cheapest ones to get into. And maybe they're thinking in terms of, like, accessibility, you know, to potential female fans. And if they had female Custodes, maybe they have some kind of study somewhere that says, that, you know, it would bring in X more people, et cetera, blah, 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 right? But even if that was the case and they wanted to do that, it's impossible to just insert a thing retroactively into 10,000 years of canon within a fictional world and just try to tell people that it was always there and it was never talked about. Like, dude, we have a 60-book series that leads into a trilogy of books that's and it's never in there. It's never in there whatsoever. So what you could then do is use the fact that it was never in there, make a moment where it started to be a thing, and give a satisfying explanation within the lore as to why it was now a thing. That's what he's discussing. Now, a lot of what he's saying is probably lost in the sauce because a lot of you are not maybe hardcore Warhammer fans, but he's talking about different ways that you could do this. Like, dude, my version of this, by the way, would be because there's like all sorts of ways you could do this. But what I would say is maybe they just found like these young girls that were blanks. What that means is they have like a negative soul in the warp. They actually like disrupt magic, basically. They're like the Ysalamari of like Thrawn's original stuff. They disrupt the Force. So what if we had young females that had the pariah gene, making them a blank, and yet they were also perfect candidates to be a custodian, which is rare. It's like 1 in a billion to be a custodian, right? So what if you just did something like that, and then all of a sudden these new female custodians would actually be potentially different and more powerful than even their male counterparts? Like listen to what I'm saying. I'm willing to have female custodians in the lore. I'm willing for them to actually be even stronger than their male counterparts. But it has to make sense. It has to be earned in the lore. What they did right now is like just gaslighting. Okay, but anyway, he has a lot more interesting stuff to say.
And so what you could have done is, because like the Sisters of Battles are badass. They are so well written. They are like so overzealous with the Emperor. Like just the slightest wrongdoing or wrong word, you're getting executed by the sisters. You could have elevated one of those into the Custodes.
Yeah, that's an option. It would have been cool.
So awesome to read about. Like 100%, a battle-hardened sister, almost to the level of sainthood. Let's elevate them into the Custodes, and what an honor that would be to be close to the Emperor, to be the guardian, to be the protector. Like, it would have just been so well written and probably well received, and you'd gone 100%, make her a Custode. I agree with that. That's brilliant, and I'll use her because she's just like, well, probably even more zealot than what most of the Custodes would even be. But they didn't even take the time to do it. And I'm going to go on a bit of a flip one. If you've been reading Ashes
this part's Imperium, interesting too.
The new Scouring sort of series, Games Workshop did write a little bit of lore in there. And this isn't me saying what I'm about to say. This is Games Workshop has done this, okay? And there's no other way to interpret it. Throughout any sort of book of the Custodes that we've read and the interaction that we've had with the Custodes, they are stoic. They are non-emotional. They are logical, down the line, straight. That is what the task is. If there is a manipulation of wording around it to make the logic make sense, there we go. Yes, that is logic. That is how I've been programmed. That is what I've been done. In the Scouring, okay, and this is probably going to get me in trouble, but I'm going to say it. They made the female Custodes emotional.
Yeah. Emotional.
Cracked under pressure. No, I'm really...
Yeah. No, listen, I brought this up to Adam. I don't think Adam believed me because again, I said this on the Discord. I was like, yeah, dude, like they put a female custodian in it. It's a terrible scene, and they literally make her weak and emotional. And I think Adam probably thought I was kidding, but like I wasn't kidding. And this just shows, like, look, I think the reason companies get into positions like this is because they don't actually have like a true moral reason to be doing this sort of stuff. The moral reason or the moral justification for some of the stuff they do is often just scapegoating the truth of it. And because there's no actual consistent like effort given that feels like it comes from an actual moral logical standpoint, you get into situations like this where, you know, on the one hand, you claim to be doing this for representation, and then on the other hand, you're playing into literally stereotypes and delivering this in a way that feels basically incongruent with what you claim to be the motivation for why you're doing this. And we watch Star Wars get caught with their hand in the cookie jar many a times. I think what most people would bring up is like, okay, so you're arguing for this, that, second, and the third and telling fans they're sexist for believing this, but you're shrinking John Boyega on the poster for China. You know, there is no moral, like, what do you mean, Disney? And I actually think this is a thing that why most companies should not relate to their audience through moral lensing, like, at all. But this happened with them in the Custodes thing too, and it's just like, holy shit, I cannot think of a worse way to do this. But anyway, let's keep going.
Really sorry, okay, but this is how you're going to get. Oh God, I'm not sorry for saying this. This is where you get the likes of people like your Andrew Tates of saying like, I would rather have male pilots in a situation because I don't want to crack under the pressure, and everyone kicking off about it. But Games Workshop and the law writers have done the exact same thing. They have written that something's gone wrong, there's a bit of pressure, and the female Custodes has wept when the Primarchs were arguing and has cracked under a bit of emotion because the Emperor has gone. Now, I'm really, really sorry, okay? GW, you then can't gaslight people by going like, oh, I don't really want female Custodes, when you've just written the law in a stereotypical way, then how to go at people for not liking what you've done. Like,
people are so sick of that.
Ridiculous.
Dude, that's the thing people are sick of.
To say you giving...
Like, and I feel like there's a lot of people in positions of power within these companies that control this IP that are not understanding this exact point. And because again, this is a guy that doesn't even care. He doesn't care the way that I do, but he can still acknowledge and see what's happening. By the way, he's still fucking sick of the gaslighting. Otherwise, I don't think he'd be making an impassioned video talking about it. This is where a lot of these companies are actually losing their fans. Crazy, dude.
The people, their representation, oh yeah, I want to have this because it represents me and represents me. Then take the time to write the law for people.
Yeah, just do it right.
There's a lot of like memes going around about, well, you know, the Drakari have got trans this and trans that. Yeah, because it's been well-established law. It's demonic. It's the deprivation. It's this. It's that. It's inbuilt into it. Oh, well, you know, you've got non-binary in the Mechanicus. Yes, because it's been established well back into the law, written in books, all of it. Because they are losing the bodily form and going to become a computer and a machine. That's what binary code is. But this has never been done in the Custodes, the protectors of the Emperor, the stalwart, the stoic element. And it's just having a throwaway comment like they've always been there, chucked a few heads to appease a very small people, and then gone, if you don't buy this box, well, you're obviously a misogynist, you're obviously a bigot, you're obviously this, that, and the other. And I think people are just tired of it. We are growing tired of it. Again, I think it's great that you've got female Custodes in there. Brilliant. The models look incredible. And if you want to have that in there, great. But GW, give us good quality lore. Give us some really good background so that we can, like, the shield captain you've got in there that's female. Who is she? What has she done? What's made her special? How do I interact with that character to really bring me across? Because I want to give my characters that passion, that story, that telling, all of it. Because we love that sort of side of it all. You've written some incredible characters. I was just looking, I think I had Minkalesk. Yes, here she is, Minkalesk. We've followed her journey. She's awesome. Watching all of it, being part of Hell's Last, being elevated from a trooper up to an officer, following her journey. Like, how cool is she as a character? So well written. You can relate to the struggles. That's what I want. That's what people relate to. Instead of going, because what it says to me is, actually, ladies, those who want this, you're not really worth our time. We're just going to appease you with a throwaway comment and an upgrade, a couple of heads. We're not going to invest in any lore because you're not worth investing in lore. We'll just make it happen. Have a go at the people that don't like it. Come out with a statement that says, if you don't agree with this, you're not welcome in Warhammer. That'll be all right. Tell me I'm wrong. In the comment section, go for it.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. Disagree.
So we can stop it there. I think it's a great video. I think it's a great take. I think it only has a couple thousand views too. Yeah, it's just like a couple thousand views. But I think it's a salient point, man. And ultimately, it's sad because it's something that I think we've experienced with Star Wars and to a degree Marvel and all of that. And it's something that's still happening. And I really don't understand it. I think there's some people would say, oh, well, this is like a BlackRock thing or whatever. And there's an investment element here. But isn't that also ending? Isn't that also something that people have realized is silly and it's not actually doing the things that people want to do? Ultimately, it just comes to corporations not taking actual care of a thing. And the thing that I think is really weird about it is it really does feel dismissive because it's they have to have some level of understanding that this was going to be a thing and that people would have backlash to it. But are they really not seeing the points that this guy is making? Do they really not see how they have fumbled a meaningful way to do this? And then by gaslighting everybody, they've created a lot of animosity. And you just can't overcome that by just pretending it's not there. You know what I mean? And, look, there's a lot of, because I saw, man, it's just such a fucked up situation. I saw a lot of chuds and I saw a lot of wokies just going at each other's throats over the weekend over this exact thing. And almost nobody was making the point that this guy was making. And I really think that is the point. And so I have a little bit of empathy for these companies that maybe look out on social media and just see the shit throwing contest between, frankly, just assholes that lean left and assholes that lean right. And that really is a lot of what the discourse ultimately comes down to. But I just wish, and I wonder if there's any way for these kind of messages to get out there, for other people to share it, and for an understanding to be had that they own the drama, they own the mistakes, they own the controversies, they own the arguments and the hostility. They create that, they own that, and by not giving it the proper time of day, I mean, it feels comparative to the Reva thing, right? Well, Reva could have been a well-handled character. There could have been things done to make Reva a good character. I think they just shortcutted it. I think they just threw her out there on stage with Ewan and Hayden, and they just said, if you don't like this, if this feels weird to you, there's a problem with you. Not us. You. I don't think that's a very good business strategy. I really hope GW doesn't sort of double, triple down on this sort of thing. And I guess I'll just be interested to see how it all goes from here. Again, I personally feel like when Henry does the show, Henry's a Custodes guy, right? Henry is a Custodes guy. I truly feel Henry will not be down with female Custodes. And I hope there's no female Custodes in the live action shit. I guess we'll see, but I really hope that. And I wonder how GW's other side of the business will respond to all of that. But anyway, good point, good video, important topic. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Sir Olivio says, have you seen the newest episode of Joe Rogan, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon are guests, and they talk about the state of cinema in the future in detail. Very, very interesting. Yeah, I've seen some of it. It is pretty interesting, man. You know what else? You know what God, this is gonna sound really bad. Okay. But because this isn't the first time I've heard Ben Affleck speak about something, and I'm like, damn, this motherfucker is smart. I don't know. I just think Ben's a pretty smart guy, and I look at some of the issues he's had in relationships a little bit differently, thinking about how thoughtful he is in a town of people that are probably super fake and super shallow. But yeah, his insight is incredible, yeah. No, it was more like if you attack Moses, then you're not a real fan. It had nothing to do with liking her character. Wait, what? I must be missing something here. Glad it's not just me. What's not just you? Cavill may get with the writing team and flush the female Custodes out for the show. Yeah, I'm hoping he just ignores it, right, and just doesn't put it in the lore at all. Hey, you don't say that, Kalen. I mean, thanks, but no. What are you talking about? Warhammer's the best. He made some solid points, and I hope other voices lore issues as well, and that Games Workshop will listen. Yeah, we can hope. All you can do is try to say it and communicate it, and it's up to the companies to hear it and figure it out. Oh, I missed some supers? All right. What's her name? Says Nate. Hey, don't say that. This past Friday, we heard our baby's heartbeat for the first time. I'm excited more and more. Awesome, man. That is a pretty incredible thing. I remember that for both of the kids, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. You know, actually, the first time we got Liam's heartbeat, it was very hard to find because Liam was he was a squirmer, man. He would swim and he was hard to get that heartbeat. And I remember my wife got a lot of anxiety. I think with your first, like, it's just everything's a little bit more intense, right? So I remember my wife was very bothered because the nurse couldn't find the heartbeat, and the nurse eventually finds it, and the nurse was so sweet. She just put a hand on my wife and said, and that feeling you just had, you're going to have that for the rest of your life, but he is okay. We have the heartbeat. And I was just like, that's sweet. But yeah, it's a cool moment. It's a cool moment hearing that heartbeat for sure. Congratulations. Congratulations, man. All right. Did you guys get enough Warhammering? Should we go on a whole Warhammer adventure, or should we talk some Marvel? What do you think? What did the Custodes think of the Primarchs? They fucking hate the Primarchs. They hate the Primarchs. There's a great book. There's a great short story at the end of the Era of Ruin anthology, which is a chapter all from the perspective of the Custodes. And, like, this is after the Emperor's on the Golden Throne and Gilliman is trying to, you know, lead. And, dude, there's internal dialogue of the Custodes, and they're just sitting there and, like, this motherfucker Gilliman, I'd kill this motherfucker right now. And, like, everybody in the Ruin is, like, ready to kill Gilliman at any moment. The Custodes are really cool, man. Yeah. Are we still talking Warhammer? I hope so. Is Custodes really the best place to start, in your opinion? Well, it's the cheapest army to build because they're all like super soldier elite warriors. So, like a whole 2,000 point army of Custodes might be 20 models, and a 2,000 point guard army is probably like 50 models. So. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about a couple of things. Let's talk about a couple of Marvel things here, okay? So we got a cool update about the X-Men. Okay, I'll stop. So X-Men, next big thing for Marvel Studios. You know, we've heard a lot about the actual first X-Men movie. Jake Schreier created. Chris something or other is writing it. I actually forget his name. And, you know, we've been hearing a lot about this thing. But we've also heard that there will be other X-Men projects. Well, maybe we have a look at one of those projects might be. Marvel Studios reportedly set to move forward with a second X-Men project. This is over on Murphy's Multiverse.com. With additional photography on Avengers Doomsday and principal photography on Avengers Secret Wars, all that remains on the docket for the Infinity Saga. Marvel Studios looks to be fully invested in making sure the next saga gets off to a solid start, though nothing has been made official yet. The next saga, which will get underway in 2028, looks to be kicking off with Jake Schreier's X-Men reboot, Ryan Coogler's Black Panther 3, a sequel to the Fantastic Four, and a potential team-up film, Midnight Suns, among projects reported and rumored to be on the way. While MCU fans wait for Marvel Studios to give us some update into what to expect, another project may find itself in contention for a spot in the first phase of the new saga. According to industry pooper scooper insider Daniel RPK, Marvel Studios has decided to move ahead with an X-Force project in the new saga. In May 2025, THR reported that Ryan Reynolds was working on various treatments for an ensemble film that would feature 3 or 4 X-Men characters. Shortly afterward, rumors emerged that Reynolds' project was indeed an X-Force film that would feature Deadpool, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, Brolin's Cable, and a new actress for Storm. Though Rickman new report does not make the claim, it seems possible the two projects are indeed one in the same. Okay, great. So, couple of different things here. Let's start with the 10,000 view perspective, and then we'll zoom in and really narrow down on what this means and why it's so damn cool. Okay, so first thing is, it really feels to me, I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident and pretty good about the direction for Marvel. I feel like the next phase is going to kick off in a much better way. I mean, guys, we're talking about Black Panther 3 with Denzel Washington, okay? We're talking about this X-Men movie with Jake Schreier. I thought Thunderbolts was incredible. It didn't get no love because it's like C and D level characters, and we couldn't keep convincing our friends to go out and see Marvel movies. We did for many, many years, Kevin. We're sorry. They eventually stopped answering our calls. But it's a good-ass movie. Really liked it. Really dug what the whole team, including Jake, did with that film. Very excited about that. Midnight Suns, that's also incredible. I think that's a great look. Dude, Midnight Suns, I think, yeah, hell yeah, that would be great. Sequel to the Fantastic Four, we'll fucking see. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I guess it could be dope if they have some Doctor Doom in there, okay? But, man, that's a fairly strong lineup. That's way better than like an Eternal Shang-Chi Black Widow kind of a situation, which I think really did hinder the beginning of the Multiverse Saga. Okay, so that's the first thing, is like, I look at this and I'm like, damn, that is dope, bro. And if we're getting some of that energy from Spider-Man, look, Doomsday is an ensemble, crazy, bombastic, 70-plus Marvel characters, RDJs, the Nutty Professor playing 13 different characters in the movie and all that. That's an insane undertaking. That's an insane project. I think, though, looking at Spider-Man gives you a little bit of a better idea of outside of the big Avengers movies, what is Marvel doing? And I think you look at that movie, you got Hulk, you got Punisher, you got Spider-Man. Maybe you've got Jean Grey. I guess we'll find out. But even if you don't have Jean Grey, you're cooking. Like, holy shit, you're cooking. Hulk, Punisher, Spider-Man, maybe some symbiote action, maybe Jean Grey. Wow. With that in mind, going into like a Midnight Suns, which I think has had so much more promise and excitement than Blade, hopefully the Fantastic Four movie cooks as well, because maybe you have Avengers and Mutants as a part of that as well, because they'll be in 616. This is all great, and it shows the new direction. But also, the fact that you're getting X-Men and the fact that you're getting this X-Force thing is great. And it means probably not another Sam Wilson Captain America's movies. It means probably not the Marvels, the girls, Sam Jackson after the stupid lizard humping show is somehow catty, floaty Nick Fury in that shit movie. I guess what I'm saying is, like, I think we're probably moving it away from these characters. We're moving more into the mutants, and that's great. Honestly, give the new Avengers their shine in these next two Avengers movies, and then fucking show them as little as possible, keep them out of most of the movies, focus on the X-Men. I think that's a great strategy. That's honestly a really great strategy, so I'm happy to hear that. Now, let's talk about this X-Force thing. That's the other part of it, right? I think Charles is correct to point out the similarities to some of the reporting around the project that Ryan Reynolds is doing and the X-Force project. Very similar characters. Cable, he's been on X-Force a couple of different times. Deadpool's been on X-Force. Logan's been on X-Force. Storm, I think, has even been on X-Force. In fact, I think there was wasn't there a book, like Sex, Blood, and Rock and Roll? I forget, it's like a Marvel Max comic with the X-Force characters, and I think Domino was a part of it. I want to say Storm played a role in that too, but maybe not. But Storm's awesome. And that could be really cool. Here I gotta say though, I fucking Deadpool, man. Yeah, this guy. I'd like my X-Force movie to be serious and be awesome and be really fun. I really didn't dig what they did with the X-Force in X2 or in Deadpool 2. You know, Shatterstar's fucking awesome, and they shit all over Shatterstar. You know, everybody dies. It kind of sucks ass. Is Ryan co-writing this? Is this just more like Ryan Reynolds Deadpool stuff with X-Force? I don't know, man. I guess it could be cool, and the action in some of the Deadpool movies is incredible. So you could get that going on. I just don't know if that's what I'm down for, man. Like, I really want a little bit more of a serious thing. And maybe they can walk that line a little bit. Maybe we could find a way to make it work with Deadpool. But I would almost prefer if the X-Force project was other characters without Deadpool and like an MCU Cable and some stuff like that. And we're kind of doing that. But I kind of think Charles is right. And I think it's probably that other project. And, man, I just don't know, Chad. I don't know how I can feel about another Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, Hugh Jackman, X-Force movie. And, you know, the rumors I heard about them wanting Cynthia Erivo as the new Storm, it's just like, man, you're packing a lot of questionable shit into what should just be a very simple to sell X-Force movie. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's the report there. So again, a lot of good here, and maybe it'll still be dope. And Deadpool and Wolverine popped off, and people really liked that, even though it was kind of sloppy. So maybe we can get an X-Force movie with these characters and with Ryan Reynolds shit that's going to be fine. But that's the report. Those are my feelings on it. Chat, what do you think of this, man? Guys, what do you think of this? Can this work? Michael Leslie is writing the X-Men. Yes, that is true. I need Ryan to stay the fuck away for a while. Am I the only one that's feeling that way? Or is there like a lot of us that are feeling that way? Yeah, I don't want Deadpool 4. I mean, maybe you make a Deadpool 4, but I don't need a Deadpool 4 for X-Force. Oh, he has no cachet, so Kevin can move so he pleases. Yeah, maybe. I like those starting films. Yeah, those are good starting films, huh? I legit cannot wait for the rest of the series at Night for the Seven Kingdoms. Oh, really? Did that come out recently? I didn't see it. I've had enough of Ryan. I'm scared that Disney will meddle with Midnight Suns and make it watered down. Yeah, fair. All this hee ha ha shit. Yeah, dude, no. I won't mind as long as Deadpool's the only one that's unserious. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there was something really good with that Cable Deadpool relationship. Cable being such an asshole and so stoic was a great thing. Wolverine was similar. And so maybe if every single character is like that, the balance could work. You know what I mean? I'm not against that. I hope that Ryan Reynolds is like, and I think he is probably like, he's way smarter than he leads on. I think he's probably looking at the fandom and maybe realizing that. And if he can sort of self-correct and just, like, I guess, like, dial it in a little bit, then he's going to avoid becoming Taika Waititi, basically. And that's the fear, right? Is that Taika became so much Taika that it was almost like a parody of himself. And I think he loses a lot of people with how silly Love and Thunder was, right? So hopefully we can make it work. You know, the other question with Deadpool, I guess, is, you know, with Jackman specific, I think there will be a Logan in 616, and I almost feel like Jackman will be a second Logan, or he'll be a Logan from a different universe, and maybe the multiverse still exists after, Secret Wars. But I almost feel like what they're doing with the X-Force characters in this potential X-Force movie works better as exiles. Like, take the Deadpool and Wolverine energy and dial it up to like 11. Because you can do an Exiles thing where, like, you go into a particular universe and it's a variant of Magneto that rules the world. You know what I mean? Like, you could do fucking anything. And maybe we want to abandon the multiverse, and so they don't want to do that. But it feels a little tricky to do an X-Force project on 616 with the new Storm, the old Logan, Deadpool. It's like, bro, how are you going to square that circle? How are you going to actually make that work? And you... On the one hand, it's awesome because it's X-Force, and it's way better than like a Shang-Chi 2 or whatever, right? But I don't know. There's a few concerns for me. Deadpool isn't Ryan. His character is straying from who he is. Normies don't even realize that Ryan doesn't really capture the full range of Deadpool. He's only ever the sarcastic side. Yeah, I mean, I'd give Ryan a little bit more credit than that. I think that he does pull out some nuanced notes, but by and large, yes, it's this bite-sized, digestible, fun-sized version of Deadpool, and it's really just Ryan Reynolds, you know? I'm worried about Deadpool in Doomsday. You know, somebody brought up earlier that there's a rumor that Deadpool's going to be fighting Mr. Fantastic, okay? And I think there's a lot of fans, like I think there's some Deadpool fans that are psyched. And that leaves, I mean, come on. You know the questions that Deadpool's going to ask. You know the jokes that he's going to make, okay? But I'm personally at a place where I'm not psyched about this. I'm like, okay, so the most serious, intelligent character in Marvel going up against the least serious, goofiest, fourth wall breaking meta joke machine. Can we edit that shit down? I'm actually not that excited, frankly. I'm not that hyped up to see that. That feels like red flags all over the place. So similarly, I hope that they can handle that because, dude, Marvel has an incredible opportunity to use what is going to happen in these next two Avengers movies to really create a level of newness, a new hype, and then going into the next phase, I think they're going to go big. They're going to utilize X-Men and the Mutants, which is great. Stay away from the Avengers. Focus on the X-Men and the Mutants. Hell yeah, that's the move. But within that, I do think the Reynolds element of the X-Force movie is a potential pitfall. And, man, you definitely just don't want to have what should be this monumental, awesome thing that everybody's going to love become this, like, kind of too slapsticky, silly, not correct tone kind of a project. Does that make sense? Oh, I just hope I hope we can be chill about this. I hope that they don't fuck it up right off the gate with the X-Men, man. That's what I'm saying. You understand? All right, ladies and gentlemen, one last topic today. One last topic, and then we're getting out of here. Or I guess we'll do a little Q&A, and then we'll get out of here, okay? One last thing I want to talk about, and it has to do with RDJ. So, as everybody knows, RDJ is going to be playing Dr. Doom in Avengers Doomsday and in Avengers Secrets, and maybe even beyond that. Now, this is pretty cool here. This is a scene from the 2005 Fantastic Four movie, and it is a scene at the beginning of the film where there's a statue of Victor Von Doom being erected in his new facility Baxter building thing. And what many people are pointing out is that this statue has the likeness of Robert Downey Jr. I mean, dude, that's Downey, dog. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's Robert Downey Jr. Now, the reason this is going crazy viral right now, and I think the reason it's interesting to people, is because it reveals that, yes, RDJ was being cast as Dr. Doom initially. Way before he went out for the role of Iron Man, he went out for the role of Victor Von Doom. It's actually the first time that he had met Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel Studios. Now, I brought this up because the year they announced RDJ as Dr. Doom, that was also the 15-year anniversary of Iron Man. And Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau did a big interview. It was a video, I think it was like a 20-minute video or whatever. Marvel Entertainment dropped it. And it was them talking about the 15-year anniversary of Iron Man. And one of the things that was said in that interview was Favreau saying to Kevin, yeah, and I remember when Downey came in and you already all had known him and met him because he had come out for Doctor Doom or something like that. And Kevin makes this like weird face and he's like, oh, I don't remember that. But it's like bullshit. Of course Kevin remembers it. Anyway, point I'm making is at that time when that interview came out, I had brought up how interesting it was that Downey indeed went out for the role of Victor Von Doom first. And the reason I brought this up is because, like, Kevin Feige, he likes these sort of things. He likes these meta-contextual things. I mean, the Ralph Boner joke is a great example, right? Where Kevin gets Evan Peters, who played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men universes, to be the Quicksilver in the WandaVision show after the Fox X-Men stuff gets acquired by Disney. And it's like a joke, it's like a meta thing, but it only makes sense if you understand the meta context. He likes that kind of shit. Okay, this is why John Krasinski gets brought in as Reed. It's why Kevin was going to do Tom Cruise Iron Man and Joaquin Phoenix Doctor Strange, because he knows they were originally out for that role, and it would be this really interesting meta contextual nod to what Marvel always was. So at the time, I was like, yo, I think part of the reason that Kevin wants RDJ to play Doctor Doom is because RDJ was originally going to play Doctor Doom. Okay, now, what happened? Why didn't he get the role? Well, so this was around the time that Downey was kind of going through it. He had sort of a checkered history for several years dealing with addiction. This was right around the time in 2002 when Downey is publicly fired from the Ally McBeal show. And this was like when Downey was getting into even more trouble, went to rehab. I think this was after he went to jail, but this was when he does a rehab thing. So basically, around this time when they're casting, which was like 2001, 2002, Downey was so close to getting the role that I think they literally built the fucking statue for him. And you think, yeah, you probably build something like this, you know, pretty far ahead of other things because it takes time to build something like this. So probably the case that the statue had the likeness of Downey because it was so close to happening. The Ally McBeal thing happens, he gets fired, and they decide not to go with him. And then they decide to go with Julian McMahon, of course, right? Now, years later, actually, as this is all happening, Downey then goes back to Marvel and he was going out for the role of Iron Man. Okay. And remember, there's all these stories of how the studio didn't want him, partially because of all the drama and all the problems that he had with addiction, but also partially just because they wanted somebody younger. Okay. And, you know, we've heard all sorts of crazy stuff about this now. And, you know, Terrence Howard gives $1 million out of his salary to cover the insurance cost of covering Downey as Iron Man in Iron Man 1. This is why there wasn't a big multi-picture deal signed, because the studio was very afraid of Downey and the problems he would make for the studio. And it's ultimately why Downey actually gets all the money he gets, because when he went to renegotiate his contract after Iron Man was a success, he had like all of this leverage and back-end points. This is how he's able to negotiate massive paydays for years and years to come, right? But I think this is actually really interesting. And there's like a reason it's going viral. I think it's because it's so fucking crazy. And a lot of people just don't know this story about Downey and about how he was going out for Doctor Doom. And I do really think it has something to do with why Kevin wanted him to be Doctor Doom. I think it's going to end up being a thing that they eventually talk about. They're not talking about it right now. But trust me, as we get closer to Doomsday and they're promoting it, and especially like as Downey's talking about the whole experience after the movie is out, I'm telling you right now, this kind of information is going to come out. Marvel is going to start to explain some of the real world things that happened that had linked Downey to Victor Von Doom for even longer than Downey had been linked to Tony Stark. And I think there's something meta-contextual going on there, and that will play a role in the story, which will ultimately reveal the connection between RDJ's Tony Stark and the connection between RDJ's Doctor Doom. I have a big video that's being worked on right now about that entire question. It has to do with the thing John Campea has recently been saying, which is that this connection between these two characters is not explained in Doomsday. It's explained in Secret Wars. Some people think that means there's no connection. There's nothing there. That video is going to drop soon on the main channel. I think it's a very good video. I think you're going to dig it. But this is kind of a little interesting tangent. It's a tendril to this whole thing. It's like a piece of the history here that's kind of undeniable. I mean, I think that's undeniable that that's Downey, right? What do you guys think? Do you think it's just a bad statue, or do you think indeed this is Robert Downey Jr.? Do you think this has something to do with the twist? Do you think there is a twist? What are your thoughts on this and just Downey and the whole Doctor Doom thing in general here? Would love to know what you think, chat. What do you think? Looks like a dude playing the dude who's playing another dude. I mean, I guess, yeah. Man, it really does look like RDJ. I guess they made it when they were sure it was going to be him. Yeah, exactly correct. Mr. Falcon says, Nerd Venture for 13 months. Let's fucking go. Too broke to send some cash, but regardless, glad to be here, man. By the way, fuck Star Wars Warhammer is peak. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Mr. Falcon, let him know. And also, I really appreciate the support, man. It's all good. You know what I mean? It's all good out there. I like the RDJ face. It looks like a Doom mask with those bolts. Indeed. I think that was a visual flair or reference to the mask itself. Yes. He lost himself in the sense that he originally had a voice and he was a songwriter. Or a strong writer, Taika. Oh, yeah. I think that's probably true. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Kind of looks like Elon Musk, not going to lie. Wait, what? I see RDJ, not Julian. Yeah, I think it's pretty clearly RDJ, yeah. Don't look like RDJ at all? That's a crazy take, Monkey Giraffe. I feel like that's a crazy wild take, man. I think the reason this thing's going viral is because it so clearly looks like RDJ. It's not even, it's obvious, I think, yeah. That's why you give grace, because look what motherfuckers become. Wait, what? I never knew that about Terrence Howard. Pretty dope of him to do that for Downey. Yes, that was in the Joe Rogan interview with Downey, or with Terrence Howard. He talked about that, yeah. Yeah. Wait, so Howard brought RDJ through at the beginning, and then RDJ didn't fight for Howard to keep his role? Yes, that is maybe a thing. That is maybe a thing that happened. Yeah. Studio would make it look like just some guy in case something was happening to the actor. I don't know about all that. That's why when you're homie, be careful of who you help, because they won't always have the same courtesy to bring you up. Yeah, there's some truth in that, unfortunately. But also, we don't know the full details of what the negotiation was for Howard, where Downey was at with all that sort of stuff. We don't know the full story. But yeah. So RDJ is literally the rejected Doom, just like the MCU. Yes, I actually think that for somebody like Kevin, and potentially for somebody like Robert, the real life element and the real life history is used to draw upon in the performance, in the writing. There is something there that they can use. And I do think that is why, or at least a part of why, they decided to do this with RDJ as Doom. Now, yeah. I wonder if Marvel will connect this statue in the F4 movie during the Secret Wars movie. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah. So they went on to make him a separate character? Yeah, so basically what happens is Kevin is a producer on the Fantastic Four movie. In 2006, Marvel Studios starts to become an entity, and AV-ARAD and some others are at the top at the time with Kevin. They're looking at the licensing deals. They're acquiring back all these characters. They buy 10 different characters, the license for these characters back. These are characters like Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Iron Man, Hawkeye, and some more. And then Kevin and some others decide which character they want to go with first, and they decide Iron Man. And they put that out there and everything, and then at the time when Downey goes out for that role, and have you guys ever seen the audition? Oh my God, he nails that audition, man. He nails that audition. It's incredible. There's a reason he got it. But yeah, so Downey comes in and reads and records his take for Tony, But yeah, he had already known Kevin. He had already known a lot of those guys at Marvel, because when they created Marvel Studios, a lot of the people that Kevin liked, that he had worked with for 13 Marvel movies before he gets that job as president, they all become employees of Marvel Studios at the time. Yeah. Darth Taser says, Josh, I just want to say, hope you and DeFam are well. I started the Police Academy last week. I'm loving it. I can't wait for Doomsday. Love y'all. #Unity. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for your service. Going to the Police Academy, it's a big deal. I hope it goes well for you. I know it's probably going to be challenging. But yeah, really appreciate that. And also, if you pull me over speeding, I expect you to let me go. Much love, man. Thank you. Appreciate the support. He is Tony Stark. It's crazy to think that F4, the Silver Surfer, came out. Iron Man was well into production. Yeah. That RDJ statue would look cool next to Major's Kang statues. Yeah, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something they'll put into the film. Would it be crazy if we get a scene there in the lobby, RDJ Doom portals in with a TVA thing, looks at the statue, looks at all the other people, and just said, another bastardized timeline, and yet here you all are. It's a shame you wouldn't get to learn or know the real me, but alas, your fate will be delivered to you all the same by Doom. And then he fucks them up, takes their lunch money, destroys the statue, and kills or captures McMahon's Doom or some shit like that. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Something like that would be cool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, let them know. Okay, any other thoughts on this whole Doom thing? Lunch money's too far? Whatever, Carl. You like Andor, so what do you know? Yeah, any other thoughts, comments, guys, before we get on out of here of this segment here with the Doom thing? It is cool. It is viral. People like it. Do you have any insight into what RDJ's twist on Dr. Doom will be after Secret Wars? I think he is, from what I understand, they're going to do something with his voice to represent the change he goes through in the Secret Wars movies. And I think the first time you see him post Secret Wars in the MCU, they're going to like roll up on him, maybe in Latveria, you know, and he's covered in shadow. And then, you know, he comes out and he's like, my name is Doom. It's an interesting choice. It's a bold choice. But, yeah, that's what I've heard about it. So I guess we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. And I don't know the story reason for that exactly, but, yeah. Yeah. McMahon died last year. I know that is unfortunate. Yeah. I wish he would have shot something beforehand. There's a chance he did, but I don't know, man. That's a tragic one, and maybe they avoid that universe because of that now. Yeah. Josh, this was a smooth Monday stream. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I hope it was nice and frictionless for you. Nice and buttery smooth. Borderline lubricated. Easy to slide right in there. Okay, that's enough of that. All right, let's end this segment. Okay, all right. All right. All right. Josh, did you watch A Night from the Seven Kingdoms? So good. Nailed the lighter, whimsical tone while keeping the overall vibe. How many episodes dropped? Was it just one? Or did the whole season drop? Smooth? Bro, this shit froze so many times. What do you mean it froze? What do you mean it froze? Chat, was I freezing all day? Just the first episode? Oh, okay. It did freeze? When did it freeze? How come nobody told me? What? Big freezing? A little bit? When did it freeze? When didn't it freeze? Short freezes many times. Okay, I'll look into that. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what the deal is. Is it freezing right now? And delayed? Hold on, it froze on me? What did you ask? Wait, what? Josh, I've been in and out. Wait, what? Did we already talk about Andor? Nope. Froze twice. Been freezing a lot. God damn it. I don't want it to freeze. It's freezing in here. Like, it's literally like 19 degrees. Like, I'm frozen. I'm fucking frozen solid. It just froze again? Damn. I think I saw it just freeze a little bit, yeah. All right, well, look, we'll figure it out this week. Hey, by the way, I probably should let you guys know, no stream tomorrow. Don't be mad. Don't be mad. No stream tomorrow. Okay, I gotta work on other things. But this Friday's stream is going to be so damn good. It's members only, but it will be so damn good. We're going to start probably 10 or 11 a.m. on Friday, and we are going to nerd EFAP Iron Man 1. Hell yeah. Frame by frame. Every frame's a pause. Nerd EFAP. EFAP, it's a nerdy, it's nerdy, and it's a EFAP. It's a nerd EFAP. Josh, do you rewatch your streams to check these things back? Not as much as I should, no. Yeah. Josh, please unshadow ban me. I don't know what that means. Somebody ban that guy. Chillin says, sup, all. I just want to say Doomsday will not be a thing. Either Dune will move, which will happen if Warner Bros. Is smart, or Doomsday will take a dinosaur-sized dump on Dune. Nerd Adventures for Life, Basement Crew, Anomalies, Unite. First of all, appreciate you, Chillin. Hope you're doing well. I agree. I don't think it's gonna be real, man. I think they moved that shit, dog. Yeah, I think they do. I think they move it. I think Dune should move into 2027. Make sure it's awesome. Make sure it's right. You know, take your time, and also don't get the dinosaur-sized poop on you, because I do think that's what would happen. I agree with you. Why no Tuesday streams anymore? I'm not saying we won't ever have a Tuesday stream again, but going into 2026, I'm taking more time away from streaming to work on the quality of the streams, of the quality of the videos, on Unity. There's like a lot of stuff I'm trying to figure out. It's going to be a big year for us, and there's a lot of weeks where we'll probably stream all week, every day. But I'm going to take as many opportunities as I can to make sure that the other work is getting handled as well. Ibsy says, congrats, Zootopia 2, 9th biggest movie of all time. I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear nothing about movies being back, about Disney being back on top. Fuck out of here. But thank you, Ibsy. Appreciate the support. Daniel says, you say work on the quality, but does it get any better? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But Daniel, it won't get any better if I don't take the proper time to paint to work on all of these things. Okay, how are my Deathwing Knights supposed to be properly painted? I mean, how are we going to make the content better if I don't take the time away from streaming and work on this shit? Kyber Sith thinks he's been whitelisted like Dan was. I don't know what that means, but probably, yeah. What happened to the 4K camera? Oh, you're looking at it. We just had to downsize it because, I don't know, the technology and here the machine spirit gods, the Omni side wouldn't fucking deal, you know? Shit kept crashing and everything. We had all these weird delays like every 2 minutes. But we fixed it by going away from the 4K. All right, everybody. Hey, man, much love. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I hope that you had a good time on the stream. Yeah, we just did our thing. Yapped, complained, watched other videos, talked about X-Men's, talked about RDJ, Dr. Doom. That's a full ass. That's all the notes, man. We hit every note. We did every Den of Nerds thing, man. I love it. Talking too much Warhammer crippled the stream. No, coffee. Warhammer's the future. You're all getting into Warhammer. You better start building your army, or at least researching so you know what army you're going to start building. This is fucking mandatory. I don't know. It's not making sense. I've been saying this for years. We are all getting into Warhammer. Mandatory fun. You must embrace the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. And I don't want no female Custodes fans either. So, look. Message received and fucking rejected. I want a Ray hammer. Jesus Christ. Okay, we're going to get on out of here. Much love. Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you so much. And Jay, if you're still here, man, it is actually a little bad. You dead ass have to watch it. It's just a little less pizzas. Just start 10,000 steps a day or some shit like that. I don't want to see. I don't want to see you go down a bad path. Okay, much love. Appreciate you. Y'all have a good ass rest of your day. A couple clips will post later, and big video probably out tomorrow as well. Thank you. As I always say, I hope you, that's right, you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. What the hell is this music? And also, I see this thing here. 8 minutes ago, 23 minutes ago, 41 minutes ago, an hour ago. There's some issues there, man. What the fuck, Chet? Just play a good track. Hey, is everybody gone? Hey, now did everybody leave? Why don't you guys tell me about the glitches? 2-hour streams of glitches every 2 minutes, and nobody tells me nothing? What the hell? Yeah, C+ today, chat. C+, chat. Do better. Anyway, other than that, it was a nice, happy stream. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it kicked off your week in a good way. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time, attention. Thank you for the super chats, the member chats. Thank you for it all. We're going to keep it going here in this year, 2026. Oh my God. January's almost over. I can't believe it. It's crazy. I better get going on all this shit we said we were going to start doing in 2026, man. What the fuck? All right. I'm going to get out of here. Do me a favor. Actually, do me 2 favors. Do me 2 favors. Not 1, but 2. Open up your 3rd eye. And watch out! That stinky butthole. Okay, see you.